In the heart of a small, bustling town in the Philippines, where jeepneys roared through narrow streets and vendors called out their wares, a quiet storm was brewing in the life of a young boy named Mateo. He sat at the back of his classroom, his head bowed low as Mrs. Santos, his stern and uncompromising teacher, made an announcement that sent ripples through the room. Mateo was to take the hardest test the school had ever administered, a test so challenging that no student had ever passed it. The decision wasn't born out of encouragement or belief in Mateo's abilities. It was a calculated move to embarrass him in front of his peers. Mrs. Santos had grown impatient with what she perceived as Mateo's lack of effort and wanted to make an example of him. But what she didn't know was that Mateo held a secret, a gift that would soon leave everyone astonished. Mateo wasn't like the other children in his class. He didn't excel in reciting memorized facts or solving problems in the conventional ways expected by his teachers. His classmates often teased him for being slow, and even Mrs. Santos had written him off as a lost cause. Yet, beneath his shy demeanor and quiet exterior lay an extraordinary mind. A mind that saw the world differently, one filled with patterns, connections, and insights invisible to others. At home, Mateo's family knew he was special but couldn't quite articulate why. His mother often marveled at how he could spend hours tinkering with broken appliances and somehow make them work again. His younger sister giggled when he explained complicated concepts using simple metaphors that even she could understand. But in school, this brilliance went unnoticed. Mateo struggled with traditional methods of learning, and his unique approach to problem-solving often clashed with rigid classroom expectations. Mrs. Santos's decision to single out Mateo for the test wasn't entirely surprising. She had grown frustrated with what she saw as his lack of progress and wanted to prove that some students simply weren't cut out for academic success. The test was her way of driving home this point, not just to Mateo but to the entire class. As whispers spread among his classmates about the upcoming test, Mateo felt a mix of dread and determination. He knew he was being set up to fail, but something deep inside him refused to accept defeat. He didn't fully understand his own capabilities yet, but he sensed there was more to him than others believed. Little did Mrs. Santos know that her attempt to humiliate Mateo would ignite a spark that would reveal not only his hidden genius but also challenge preconceived notions about intelligence and potential. As the test day approached, Mateo stood on the brink of an extraordinary journey, one that would transform not just his life but also those around him. Mateo's days began like clockwork. At dawn, he would wake to the sound of roosters crowing outside his modest home, nestled in the heart of a vibrant Filipino town. His mornings were filled with quiet rituals, helping his mother prepare breakfast, ensuring his younger sister had her school supplies, and slipping out the door with his worn backpack slung over his shoulder. The streets buzzed with life as Mateo walked to school, dodging street vendors and weaving through crowds of jeepneys. Despite the lively surroundings, Mateo often felt like an outsider, lost in his own thoughts. At school, Mateo's struggles were glaringly apparent. His teachers labeled him as inattentive because he often stared out the window during lessons. In reality, Mateo's mind was far from idle. It was busy unraveling complex ideas or imagining elaborate solutions to problems no one had asked him to solve. His unique way of perceiving the world made traditional schooling feel stifling. While his classmates eagerly answered questions and completed assignments, Mateo lagged behind, not because he didn't understand but because he processed information differently. Despite these challenges, Mateo's family believed in him wholeheartedly. His mother often reminded him that he was special, even if others couldn't see it yet. She had noticed how he could fix broken radios and repurpose discarded materials into functional tools, a skill that seemed far beyond his years. His younger sister adored him for his creativity and often bragged about how her kuya, older brother, could solve puzzles she couldn't even comprehend. Among his peers, Mateo had a few close friends who defended him against bullies and admired his ability to think outside the box. Mrs. Santos was a seasoned teacher known for her strict demeanor and high expectations. She prided herself on maintaining discipline and pushing her students to excel. But when it came to Mateo, she had grown increasingly frustrated. To her, he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. A boy who seemed bright but consistently underperformed in her class. Convinced that Mateo wasn't trying hard enough, Mrs. Santos decided to take drastic measures. One morning, she announced that Mateo would be taking the hardest test the school had ever administered, a test designed for advanced students preparing for national competitions. Her intention wasn't to encourage him but to prove a point, that effort mattered more than talent, and that those who didn't apply themselves would inevitably fail. The news spread like wildfire among Mateo's classmates. Some felt sympathy for him, knowing how much he struggled with schoolwork. Others found amusement in the situation, whispering jokes about how Mateo would surely fail and become an example of what not to do. The classroom buzzed with mixed reactions as Mateo sat silently at his desk, his cheeks burning with embarrassment. The announcement left Mateo reeling. Anxiety gripped him as he imagined standing in front of the class with a failing grade, while Mrs. Santos delivered a lecture on effort and responsibility. Yet beneath the fear was a flicker of determination, a quiet resolve to prove everyone wrong. Mateo spent sleepless nights wrestling with self-doubt and frustration. He questioned why he seemed so different from his classmates and why learning felt like climbing a mountain while others walked on flat ground. Despite this turmoil, he couldn't ignore the small voice inside him that whispered, "You can do this." It was during one of these restless evenings that Mr. Reyes, the school librarian, noticed Mateo sitting alone in the library, surrounded by books on science and mathematics far beyond his grade level. Mr. Reyes had always been kind to Mateo, often letting him borrow books without asking too many questions. Curious about Mateo's unusual choice of reading material, Mr. Reyes struck up a conversation and quickly realized that the boy wasn't struggling because he lacked intelligence. He was struggling because traditional teaching methods didn't align with his way of thinking. Intrigued by Mateo's hidden talents, Mr. Reyes offered to help him prepare for the test. Under Mr. Reyes's guidance, Mateo began to see learning in a new light. They worked together late into the evenings, exploring concepts through hands-on experiments and real-world applications rather than rote memorization. Slowly but surely, Mateo's confidence grew as he discovered that his unique perspective was not a weakness but a strength. As the test day approached, Mateo felt a mixture of fear and hope swirling within him, a storm of emotions that would soon propel him toward an extraordinary revelation about himself and his abilities. This section sets up the emotional stakes for Mateo's journey while introducing key characters who will play pivotal roles in his transformation. Mrs. Santos as an antagonist whose actions inadvertently challenge him to grow, Mr. Reyes as a mentor who recognizes and nurtures his potential, and his family as steadfast supporters who believe in him despite societal doubts about his abilities. Mateo's journey toward the test began with a newfound sense of purpose. Under Mr. Reyes's guidance, he embarked on a rigorous preparation process that was unlike anything he had experienced before. Mr. Reyes recognized that Mateo's mind worked differently, and instead of forcing him into traditional learning molds, he tailored their study sessions to capitalize on Mateo's unique strengths. Their evenings were filled with hands-on experiments and real-world applications of complex concepts. Mateo found himself thriving in this environment, where creativity and problem-solving were encouraged over mere memorization. As they delved deeper into the material, Mateo began to see patterns and connections that had previously eluded him. His confidence grew with each passing day, and for the first time he felt like he truly belonged in the classroom. Mr. Reyes introduced Mateo to puzzles, brain teasers, and logic games that challenged him to think creatively. Mateo's natural affinity for these activities became apparent, and soon he was solving problems that even Mr. Reyes found intriguing. The mentorship wasn't just about academics. It was about helping Mateo understand and embrace his unique perspective. As the test drew closer, Mateo's classmates noticed a change in him. He no longer slumped in his seat or avoided eye contact. Instead, he stood taller, his eyes sparkling with a newfound sense of purpose. The whispers about his impending failure began to fade, replaced by curiosity and a hint of admiration. The morning of the test arrived, and Mateo felt a mix of nerves and determination. He had never been more prepared for anything in his life, yet the fear of failure still lingered. As he walked into the test room, the atmosphere was tense. Mrs. Santos stood at the front, her expression stern as she handed out the test papers. The room fell silent as students began to read through the questions. Mateo took a deep breath, his mind racing with the strategies and techniques he had learned from Mr. Reyes. As he started answering the questions, he felt a sense of calm wash over him. The problems seemed less daunting, and his unique perspective allowed him to approach them from angles his classmates hadn't considered. As the test progressed, Mateo's classmates couldn't help but notice how focused he was. Some even glanced over, surprised by the speed and confidence with which he worked through the questions. The room was filled with the sound of scratching pens and murmured whispers, but Mateo remained absorbed in his work. When the test results were announced, the school was abuzz with shock and amazement. Mateo had not only passed the test but had achieved the highest score in the school's history. The news spread like wildfire, and soon, everyone was talking about the boy who had been written off as a failure just weeks before. Mrs. Santos was stunned. She had never seen anything like it. Her initial reaction was a mix of disbelief and embarrassment, but as she reflected on her actions, she began to feel a deep sense of regret. She realized that she had underestimated Mateo, and that her attempt to humiliate him had inadvertently pushed him to discover his true potential. Mateo's classmates were equally astonished. Those who had once teased him now looked at him with newfound respect. They approached him with congratulations and questions, eager to understand how he had managed such an incredible feat. At home, Mateo's family was overjoyed. His mother beamed with pride, and his younger sister couldn't stop talking about her kuya's achievement. The news brought the community together, with neighbors and friends visiting to offer their congratulations. As for Mateo, he felt a sense of vindication but also humility. He knew that his success wasn't just about him. It was about the people who had believed in him when no one else would. Mr. Reyes, in particular, had played a pivotal role in helping him unlock his potential. The test results marked the beginning of a new chapter in Mateo's life. He was no longer just the boy who struggled in class. He was a symbol of hope and inspiration for everyone around him. His journey was a testament to the power of believing in oneself and the importance of recognizing and nurturing talent, no matter how hidden it may seem. This part of the story highlights Mateo's transformation from an underdog to a hero, showcasing how his unique strengths were nurtured and recognized. The reactions of those around him serve as a backdrop to his personal growth, emphasizing themes of perseverance, mentorship, and the importance of believing in oneself. Mateo's achievement sent shockwaves through the school, transforming him into an overnight sensation. His classmates, who had once seen him as a struggling student, now looked at him with admiration and respect. Teachers who had previously overlooked him began to notice his unique strengths and abilities. The corridors that once echoed with whispers of doubt now resonated with words of encouragement and praise. This newfound respect had a profound impact on Mateo's self-esteem. He no longer felt like an outsider. Instead, he walked through the school gates with his head held high. His social life blossomed as classmates sought him out for advice and collaboration on projects. Mateo found himself at the center of study groups, where his creative approach to problem-solving was valued and sought after. As he basked in the warmth of his peers' admiration, Mateo began to see himself in a new light. He realized that his differences weren't weaknesses but strengths, and this realization boosted his confidence. He started participating more in class, sharing insights that often surprised his teachers with their depth and clarity. Mateo's family noticed the change in him too. His mother marveled at how he now spoke about his day with enthusiasm, sharing stories of his interactions with classmates and teachers. His younger sister looked up to him even more, proud to call him her kuya. With Mr. Reyes's continued guidance, Mateo embarked on a journey to explore his intellectual abilities further. He discovered a deep passion for science and mathematics, subjects that had previously seemed daunting but now fascinated him. Mr. Reyes encouraged him to delve deeper, introducing him to advanced concepts and challenging him with complex problems. As Mateo's reputation grew, so did the opportunities available to him. He was nominated for prestigious scholarships and invited to participate in national competitions. These opportunities not only recognized his talent but also provided him with platforms to hone his skills and compete with the best minds in the country. Mateo's involvement in these competitions opened doors to new experiences. He met other gifted students who shared his passion for learning, and together they formed a community that supported and challenged each other. Matteo found himself thriving in this environment, where creativity and innovation were celebrated. His success also caught the attention of local media, and soon Matteo was featured in newspapers and magazines as a symbol of hope for underprivileged students. This exposure brought him recognition beyond his school, inspiring other young minds to pursue their dreams despite adversity. Mrs. Santos watched Matteo's transformation with a mix of surprise and regret. She had never intended for her actions to have such a profound impact, and as she reflected on her decision to force Matteo into taking the test, she realized her mistake. She had underestimated him and nearly missed the opportunity to nurture his talent. Moved by a sense of responsibility and a desire to make amends, Mrs. Santos approached Matteo after class one day. She apologized sincerely for her actions, acknowledging that she had been wrong to doubt him. Matteo, seeing the genuine remorse in her eyes, accepted her apology graciously. This encounter marked a turning point in Mrs. Santos's teaching career. She began to question her traditional methods and sought to create a more inclusive learning environment. She started attending workshops on differentiated instruction and worked closely with Mr. Reyes to develop strategies that would cater to students with diverse learning styles. As Mrs. Santos transformed her approach, her relationship with her students improved dramatically. She no longer saw them as mere recipients of knowledge but as individuals with unique strengths and challenges. Her classroom became a place where creativity was encouraged, and every student felt valued. Matteo, in particular, benefited from this change. Mrs. Santos became one of his biggest supporters, often seeking his input on how to make lessons more engaging and challenging. She encouraged him to pursue his passions, even offering to mentor him in advanced projects. The transformation in Mrs. Santos was not just about her teaching style. It was about her understanding of what it means to truly educate. She learned that every student has hidden potential waiting to be discovered and that sometimes, all it takes is a little faith and support to unlock it. This part of the story showcases Matteo's growth into a confident and respected member of his school community. It highlights the impact of his success on those around him, particularly Mrs. Santos, who undergoes a significant transformation as a teacher and mentor. The narrative emphasizes themes of redemption, personal growth, and the importance of recognizing and nurturing talent in all its forms. As Matteo grew into his role as a gifted student, he became a source of inspiration for others. His story resonated with classmates who had once doubted their own potential. Matteo often shared his journey during school assemblies and community events, emphasizing the importance of perseverance and self-belief. One day, Matteo noticed a younger student named Carlo sitting alone in the library, struggling with a math workbook. Carlo reminded Matteo of himself, a quiet boy who seemed lost in the rigid structure of traditional learning. Matteo approached him and struck up a conversation, quickly realizing that Carlo had a knack for creative thinking but struggled with conventional methods. Over the next few weeks, Matteo mentored Carlo, teaching him how to approach problems in ways that suited his unique perspective. Carlo's confidence grew under Matteo's guidance, and he began to excel in class. This experience reinforced Matteo's belief that everyone has hidden potential waiting to be unlocked. It just takes the right support and encouragement. Matteo's efforts didn't go unnoticed. His teachers praised him for his leadership skills, and Mrs. Santos even invited him to co-lead a workshop on creative problem-solving for younger students. Through these experiences, Matteo discovered a passion for helping others realize their strengths. Matteo's journey from an underestimated student to an inspiring leader serves as a powerful reminder that everyone has untapped potential waiting to be discovered. His story is a testament to the transformative power of perseverance, mentorship, and self-belief. As he stood on the stage at his school's year-end ceremony, receiving an award for academic excellence and community impact, Matteo reflected on how far he had come. He thought about the people who had supported him, his family, Mr. Reyes, and even Mrs. Santos, and felt immense gratitude. Looking ahead, Matteo knew that his journey was just beginning. With scholarships awaiting him and dreams of becoming an innovator in science and technology, the future was bright and full of possibilities. But more than anything else, Matteo was determined to continue inspiring others, to show them that no matter where they start or how many obstacles they face, they too can achieve greatness. And so, with hope in his heart and determination in his stride, Matteo stepped forward into the next chapter of his life, a chapter filled with challenges yet to conquer and dreams yet to fulfill. This final part encapsulates Matteo's growth into a confident individual who not only excels academically but also uplifts those around him. It emphasizes themes of resilience, mentorship, and the ripple effect of inspiration, while ending on an optimistic note about his bright future ahead.